fuel is used to power trucks that help put things on our store shelves. Brace for higher costs for all kinds of things, including groceries, summer travel. Even mortgage rates have edged up as inflation and defense spending are priced into the bond market. Another concern, the cooling job market, with the economy losing 92,000 jobs last month. Prioritize liquidity. Aim for an emergency fund that covers 6 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account. Cash is your best defense if income is interrupted. And if you don't need the money right away, I'm willing to bet it comes in handy down the line. Attack high-interest debt. Even as the Fed keeps rates steady, credit card balances can really cost you with interest rates remaining elevated. For more, check out bankrate.com. I'm Mark Hamry.
When it comes to your child's health,
you want care that's close, convenient,
and centered around the needs of your family.
At NHC Pediatrics, we're more than just doctors.
We're partners in your parenting journey.
Here for every growth spurt,
for every boo-boo,
every fever, and every flu.
Our team approach means that your child always sees someone that knows them.
We are NHC Pediatrics.
We are right beside you
every step of the way.
We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
And good morning. Welcome to the Tuesday morning edition of the Roundtable Show with Rick and Wayne. Come to you every Tuesday morning here at WGNS. And good morning, Wayne. How are you, buddy?
Good morning, Brother Rick. Doing very well. Looking forward to celebrating the resurrection of our Savior this coming Sunday. So Good Friday is coming up, and then Easter Sunday. And so it's a pretty cool week.
It is. Well, all the grandkids, have you done any Easter egg hunts yet?
Well, I think,
are you going to put on your own?
I believe we're doing, if it doesn't rain, I believe we're doing a nighttime Easter egg hunt at my daughter's house, and they're putting some kind of illumination inside the plastic egg.
Okay.
And they've got about 150 of them, and I'm thinking, if I didn't have carpal tunnel before, I'm probably going to have carpal tunnel if I help. So, but that'll be a great time, for all four of them. So,
well, all right, let's take the over and under. How many eggs will you find the next morning when the lights have burned out?
Over. Well, what's the normal one during the daytime? With all the churches and all the other entities doing Easter egg hunts. I guess they find them with the mower when they start.
They sure do, yeah.
So, but don't you just love this weather? Maybe. Of course, we're going through the traditional dogwoods and all blackberry winters and stuff like that.
Like 7 of them in there.
Yeah, but
the Brian Barrett winter, that's number 7 right there.
But this weather is so nice right now. So we're doing a lot of coach pitch, little league. We're doing flag football. We're doing basketball. So busy weeks.
You stay busy, man.
Well, I don't know if it's keeping me young, but at least the Lord's let me hang around for a while.
Exactly.
So maybe that's a good thing.
You can't be that grumpy old man when you're working so hard, right? You got to stay with it.
Sure you can. Been riding horses?
My wife and my neighbor's daughter took off on my horse and her horse 2 weeks ago. I had stuff going on, but they took my horse and went, and he got a good workout, and they had a blast. So.
Well, as long as they had a good time and your horse had a good time, that's a good.
I pay all that money to keep them, so it's like, as long as they get used.
Somebody ought to get used to them.
Yes, sir.
Use of them. So, Rick, we've got a good friend of ours at in Smyrna Rotary with us, Kevin Phare, who's the president and CEO of Amada Senior Care, and he has brought along with him Debbie Lee, who's the NHC Chair of Excellence in Nursing at Middle Tennessee State, which of course is my university. So I'm always blue in a good way. So glad to have both of you here this morning.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're happy to be here today.
So, Kevin, why don't you start us off? Because I know you're going to want to introduce Debbie, but maybe refamiliarize yourself with the audience, although you've been with us before, but still.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, and thank you all both so much for having us. So, my wife Kelly and I dedicated our lives. We opened a small, modest company in 2014 called Amada Senior Care, and the impetus behind that was to help folks remain healthy in their home, providing some personal assistance. And we had a vision of, hey, this is a cool thing. Fast forward 12 years in 2026, we have, hundreds of employees, and we're caring for hundreds of families. And we dedicated our lives to doing this. And so one of the things I wanted to do in the community was to get involved in other vehicles to help our aging population and to help our society. And Debbie and I, we were just talking about how we were introduced, and I'm not really sure how I remember, but we were put in touch with Debbie's capacity and leadership at MTSU and my understanding of the business side of the senior population. And she started talking to me about the Positive Aging Consortium at MTSU, and I said, hey, I'd love to be involved. And gosh, that was 6 years ago, maybe.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
Yeah, and so that's why we're here today. We're here today to talk about an upcoming conference that we're going to have to talk about wellness, positiveness around aging, and the great work that Middle Tennessee State is doing. So I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Thanks, Kevin.
Debbie, let's let our audience get to know you better.
Sure. Well, thanks again. Like Kevin said, we are very appreciative of being here on Rick and Wayne's show. Well, I've been at MTSU since 2017, and I took on the role of NHC Chair of Nursing in 2019. I was very blessed to be selected for that. And I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky. I was born on an Army base, old Fort Benning. My dad was serving, and so I was born at Martin Army Hospital. But I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and went to Western Kentucky University.
Oh, no.
I know.
Can you bleep this out? You can edit, right?
Edit it out. Is that what you said? That's great.
And that's where I got my nursing degree. But the thing I got that was most important to me was my husband. I met my husband when I was 18 years old, and I was a freshman at see, I almost said MTSU, at WKU, and we dated for 5.5 years, and we married after we both got our master's degrees. And so my husband Mark and I have been married 40 years. And thank you to WKU for that.
Well,
so then I got smart, see, Wayne, and I left
and
that.
You came south,
and I came here. Yeah. Well, I've lived sort of all over the place.
Yeah.
I've actually lived in Seattle for a long time, and I worked at a hospital system. I worked for the State Department of Health. But one of the most interesting things I've done is my husband and I moved to Canada, to Ontario, Canada, in 2007. And I worked for the provincial healthcare system there. So here I was in Canada, not being a Canadian, and I was having to work in this healthcare system that's very different from ours.
Sure.
And I learned a lot about it, and I learned a lot about the good things about it, and I learned a lot about the struggles of it. And it was a great opportunity for me. And I actually, one of my jobs when I was there, I had an adjunct appointment at the University of Western Ontario, and I taught Canadian health policy course. So I had to kind of learn Canadian health policy, and here I was, this American person, but it was fabulous to be able to learn that. And so, I had a little stint in Canada too. But what brought me here to MTSU is my husband had a business in Smyrna. So we came here for that purpose, and I came on to MTSU as an adjunct professor in the School of Nursing. And after 2 years, they opened up this position for the NHC Chair, and Dr. Carl Adams and his wife established a endowed fund at the university for a nursing professor who would be focused on gerontology. And so I was hired into that position because of my abilities, I think, to do things like connect with people like Kevin out in the community, because you really have to be able to do that, I think, to be effective. You have to connect with your community, and that's where all the work, really happens. And it's one thing to be an academic person sitting in the, what do they call it, the ivory tower, but you have to be connected to what the reality is out there. So that's one of the great things that being the NHC chair has done for me, is it's not only connected me to our nursing workforce, but it's connected me to people who want to make a difference in the life of older adults. So I've been in this job since January 2019, and in April of 2019, I co-founded the Positive Aging Consortium with Dr. Brandon Grubbs, and that was just to bring together faculty at the university who had an interest in either working with older adults, they teach courses with older adults, or they are doing research with older adults. And from that, we started branching out into the community to bring community members on board too. So we really are focused on teaching, service, education, to help better the lives of older adults in mostly Middle Tennessee, but hopefully in the whole state. So it's been super rewarding. I have loved this job. It is a wonderful opportunity to really feel like you're making a difference in people's lives. And so that's a little bit, maybe a lot about me, but that's who I am, and that's what I'm doing.
Do you have a course dealing with grumpy old men?
We have a gerontology and aging course. Yes.
Chaired by Wayne Blair.
We do. We actually, MTSU is very well known for this, actually. In the 80s, we established an aging studies program at the university. So we have a series of courses where students can get a minor in aging studies. And we also have a postgraduate certificate in gerontology. So people, after they graduate from college, can get specialization and get a certificate in that. And so we are trying to grow those programs, because we know from a workforce perspective, we need more people coming out of school who can work with older adults. That's going to be needed now, but we really need it for the future as our population is aging. We need more young people interested in careers working with older adults in any capacity, not just in healthcare, but things like Kevin does, working with the community, being out there, in a social capacity as well. So we are really trying to grow that at the university, and that's going to be one of the areas of focus for the Positive Aging Consortium the next couple of years.
And when we look at our population, 10,000 people a day in the United States are turning 65. And that trend is going to continue for several years, right? So 10,000 people a day are turning 65. You see where, when you look at population health and population management, we're living longer, right? We have better education, we have better resources and medicines. We have to put things in place, right, to promote wellness, because folks are, it really blows my mind. 10,000 people a day are turning 65.
Well, Kevin, September 19th, I will be one of those people. So thanks for reminding me, which I'm grateful for.
Yeah. So we have, approximately 300 million citizens here in the United States?
About 350?
Basically 350. What percentage of that population is 65 and older, do you know?
I want to say 12%, something like that.
Yeah, it's less than 20.
Yeah, but what I do know is in 2030 we're going to have more people 65 and older or 60 and older in our population than we will people 18 and younger, and that's happening for the very first time in our country.
Right.
So we do know that the population is aging. We do know that we have more work to do the things Kevin was just saying. People want to age well. They want to have good quality of life. We're all entitled to a good quality of life. And I think the message that we want to get out is is what can we do? What can you do to help make that happen for yourself? So part of it is education, certainly, but there's also an intentionality that has to happen. You hear stories about, well, grandma lived to be 100 years old and she smoked cigarettes every day, or, she had her whiskey every day. Well, sure, there are people that absolutely do that. The majority of us have to make an effort to age well. And so what we're trying to get across to folks with our Positive Aging Conference that's coming up on April 17th is that there are things we can do now and it's never too late. And that's a really important message for people. It is never too late to start doing things to improve your health and well-being. And it's not just your physical health. It is also your mental health, your psychological health, because what we've also learned over the years, which is super important, is loneliness and isolation kills people. It's just as bad as smoking a pack of cigarettes. It can shorten your longevity if you're leading a life of loneliness and isolation. So we also want to get more older adults connected into their community or get connected to services so they have a sense of people care about them, that they have a sense of purpose, because one of the worst things we know that people can do is be socially isolated. And so being connected and having connections with family, friends, or colleagues, or whatever they might be, whatever that way is for you through your faith community or whatever, helps you live longer and helps you have a more positive attitude about aging. And if you have a more positive attitude about aging, the chance that you're going to live longer and have a better quality of life increases.
So with you, specifically MTSU recognizing this and creating this position that you're in now, is that through other universities in the state of Tennessee that you're coordinating with them, and like who at the state level? Because obviously at the federal level we'd never get anything done, but at the state level, is there the same people looking at the same thing to where y'all got kind of a coalition of people together working to
Rick,
make Tennessee better?
Great question. So yes, we have the Tennessee Department of Health has an Office of Healthy Aging, and we are very involved with them, and that entity is getting Tennessee Department of Health is getting a great deal of money from the Rural Health Transformation Fund that's coming down from the federal government, and that is to really help work on improving the health and well-being of older adults in rural communities, which we know people living in rural communities often don't have the access to healthcare services, and so their healthcare often will suffer because of that. So the Tennessee Department of Health Office of Healthy Aging has really been a leader in the state. So Tennessee is the only state where every health department that we have in the state is designated as an age-friendly health department, because they're doing programming and providing resources that help serve older adults. So we are really in an advantageous position here in Tennessee, that our Tennessee Department of Health is leading in what we call the age-friendly ecosystem, which are all of those areas of transportation, food, social connections, universities, healthcare systems, all of the things that serve older adults, making those age-friendly, that make them easy, accessible to older adults. And then we also have the Tennessee Department of Disability and Aging. So we have 2 cabinet-level positions in our state government that also address the issues of older adults, and they are also involved. And the Tennessee Department of Disability and Aging is holding the very first Tennessee Conference on Aging in the state that we've ever had here in Murfreesboro, September 9th and 10th. So I think this is really getting to be very elevated in our state government, and I think they've been doing a great job of bringing people together. I'm on the steering committee for the multi-sector plan on aging for the state of Tennessee, and so there are lots of us working together across different agencies and organizations to work on issues to better the lives of older adults. And I will say that we are getting leadership from our state agencies.
So how does the aging population find out about these opportunities to improve their quality of life?
That is one of the biggest issues that we have, Wayne, because we're finding that people are not getting the information easily. Now, there are people like Kevin who know a lot of that, who can give that to older adults that he serves, but we are finding out that, there might be resources, but how are people finding out? How are we getting that information to people? And what I'm also learning is that, number one, not everybody has a computer in their home, right? Number two, not everybody loves using a smartphone,
Amen.
right? So part of it is, I've heard from older adults, don't put things on your website, and don't make me fill out an electronic form, because number one, I don't have access to those things, or I'm not comfortable with those things. So we need to be doing more of the good old mailing things out, putting things out in paper. The Age Well Middle Tennessee, they put out a directory of services every year. That's a wonderful resource of services all over the state that people can access. But we have to do a better job, and I don't have a good answer, and we are working on that in the multi-sector plan about what are the avenues and ways that we should be getting information to people better.
Yeah, there's an education gap.
There's an education gap.
And one of the things I can speak to, and I was on with you gentlemen before talking about serving our U.S. veterans, okay? I'm proud to say that we are on, if you will, contract with both VA hospitals in Middle Tennessee. Amada Senior Care services are complimentary to veterans if they need assistance in their home. Yet they're the only vehicles that are out there to get that communication are me banging on doors, talking to people, talking to veteran groups, you know, being on your publication to get the word out there. And the same thing is true with just like all of these state-rich resources, right? And I don't have an answer other than us doing a conference like we're doing on the 17th and doing things like that. You know, it's one of those things where tell the story down the lane. You know, you tell two of your friends, you tell two of your friends, you know, that type of thing. Because let's face it, the technology is challenging for older adults to use.
It's outgrown so many of us.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
I read a book in college, well, maybe it was in high school, called Future Shock. It was basically describing how, at that time, my grandparents or great-grandparents dealt with the technology at that time. And this is back in the 70s that they're looking at it. Can you imagine now the way my grandparents would view the technology that I'm dealing with?
Yeah.
As, you know, somebody in their 70s.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I guess it seems like, you know, there was the Industrial Revolution, then we had the Technology Revolution, and it depends on when you were born in that revolution, I suppose, about how comfortable that you really are. And, you know, my dad will be 89 in September, and he has a laptop, he has a desktop computer, he has an iPad, he has an iPhone. And 90% of the time, he actually does a really nice job. But he also has the resource of his children and his son-in-law, my husband, who's very good with technology, to help him when he struggles. Most people don't have those types of resources. And so we can't depend on that as ways to get information out to older adults. Now, people coming up in the generations behind, sure, will be able to do that. But at this point, who knows what the technology is going to look like at that point because of AI. You know, we don't know what's coming in the future. But for right now, I think what you said, Wayne, is right on target. It's like the technology has accelerated so much that it's left a lot of us, and me at a certain point, you know, a little bit behind. So we have to do a better job of filling that technology, or excuse me, education gap that you were talking about, Kevin, about getting the information to people. So, you know, whether it's our departments of health, which we have in every community, you know, whether it's using our departments of health to get that out, our state government, our county government, but we have to do a better job of helping people know.
Talk about that directory again.
Yes.
I mean, is it something that's readily available to?
So Age Well Middle Tennessee is based in Nashville, and Grace Smith is their director, and they have been doing a directory of services every year for as long as I've known them, and probably longer than that. And it's a wonderful booklet. So it's available electronically, I believe, as well. But if you want a hard copy, I think you have to pay for that. But if you come to the Positive Aging Conference, April 17th, they are bringing copies for people. So that's another thing. If you want one of those for free, we can get you one for free that day. But they do all the research. So they go and look and say, this is what this program is. This is who qualifies for that program. And this is, you know, what you can do. So, you know, because people also don't want to go to the Social Security office, right, and sit there and wait in line. I don't even know if you can go into the Social Security office anymore. I think they kind of ixnayed that. But, you know, people don't want to be, if you make it too hard, people will just give up. Sure. And we don't want that to happen.
And I think it's a length of time. I've got an aged mother that lives with me, and and Kevin's been out to meet with her. But a doctor's office visit today takes half a day.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunately, I've had cattle and I've got horses now, and it's kind of like an auction house. Is that they run through there like cattle, and it takes forever. And then a 10 o'clock appointment is actually 11:15, 11:30 appointment.
Yeah.
And that's hard on an aging person that will make them not want to go and seek treatment because it takes so long. And the same thing of when there's benefits or availability out there. One is how are we going to get them there, and two, how long will it take? Because our aging parents have incontinence issues and other things that make them grounded at home when their safe place of their things that they need.
Yeah.
So how do we combat that, or how do we help that with a parent?
Well, I think because our healthcare system is built on reimbursement. So, the more patients you see, the more money you get in a practice. And so there's a lot of pressure on providers to see as many people as they can. And they give you, 10 to 15 minutes. And that system doesn't work very well for most of us, but really for older adults who might have more complex needs or just need more time to go through information with a provider. Excuse me. So, one of the things is that this is part of why we need to do a better job of educating our medical professionals. We have also a big gap in terms of the number of gerontologists we have in this country. Vanderbilt does have a wonderful program that helps educate the next generation of physicians specializing in gerontology. But those folks, because of the kind of practice they have and their willingness to be able to serve older adults, always give older adults more time because they understand the complexities. And so, yes, the reimbursement model is a challenge for individuals, but there also are people who specialize in working with older adults. And so finding a gerontologist is not an easy thing because there are not a lot of them out there. We do have nurse practitioners who also specialize in gerontology, and people have different feelings about that, but they are another provider as well. But I don't think that we have figured out yet how to get around the driving of medical practice with the need to generate revenue by the number of patients we see. So AI is helping some of that. So for instance, when I say that, what I mean is one of the things that takes a ton of time for doctors to do is they have to make a note. Every time they see a patient, you cannot get paid for seeing that patient unless there's a note that goes along that you saw the patient and this is what your diagnosis is. AI is now being used to help with that. So I went to see my doctor. They had a cell phone, and the doctor said to me, so I'm going to have the recording on unless you don't want that on, and I'm going to use this to make my notes with afterwards. And I said, sure. And so by the time I got home, my note was already in my electronic chart because the AI made a summary of our visit. His job was to review the summary to be sure it was accurate rather than him having to start from zero and type out all this note or do it after work. And so it can also give the provider more time with the patient because the provider now is not having to spend all this time writing notes after they see a patient. So AI can help in some of these situations to give more time to a provider to see their patients, but it has been the ongoing struggle. On average, a provider spends about 11 minutes with somebody right now. Just if you look at healthcare in general, that's not enough time to do very much. You can really only address one problem with the person. So if you come in with two issues, chances are you're not going to get to the second one unless you schedule a extra long, appointment, which oftentimes they won't do. So it is a huge issue, Rick, and it is frustrating, and you're right, it's difficult for anybody to sit in a waiting room. But if you're an older adult and you have limited mobility and you have other challenges, like you were saying, it's brutal. It's brutal. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead, Rick.
Well, just coming off of that, with your time in Canada, and obviously everybody knows everybody has free health care in Canada.
Yes.
Basically is their model.
Correct.
How are they dealing with the aging? Because I think that life expectancy in Canada is higher than what it is in the U.S. Is there a program or a way they're doing it because of that that's much better than what we have here in the U.S.?
Well, Canada is. They are very focused on keeping people as home as long as they can. So when I worked for the healthcare system there, everything has to go through your primary care provider. So you can't see a specialist unless you go through your primary care provider first. So one thing is they focus a lot more on wellness there, I will say. That's why it all starts with the primary care provider. So that helps part of it too, is if you're focused more on wellness and putting more money into the wellness side of health, that also means you're going to have fewer people with chronic illness. So you're right, Canada has better health outcomes than we do, and they spend less money per patient than this country does as well. They have a huge shortage of providers, I will say, by the way. They don't have the number of providers. So the model there is go through the primary care provider, focus on wellness. Also, we were working on a program when I worked there called Aging at Home, and it was about providing more services to the home so that people could age well in their home rather than, again, having to depend on residential care as a person aged. And, there are definitely, challenges there. If you want to see a specialist, unless it's an urgent issue, you're going to wait. If you need a bypass tomorrow, you're going to get it there. I just want to be real clear about that. But I had a friend who needed a bypass for that, which made me very scared. But apparently you can do that. So the model in Canada is built much more on primary care, more on wellness, and built more on putting services in the community, I think, than we do here.
Because
that's correct.
Would you say 50?
And they have about
and they have than 50 million.
They have about 35 million, I think. Yeah. So a lot different. But they have a vast area they're spread across too. That's the challenge there, is that. Yeah.
Well, hey, we're coming to get started. You're listening to Debbie Lee. She's the Chair of Excellence at MTSU, and Kevin Phare, he's the CEO of Amada Senior Center here in, I guess, what counties do you have, Kevin? Is it just Rutherford or what?
No, we're probably in 6 or 7 counties.
It's amazing.
So Rutherford, Williamson, surrounding counties, Sumner.
Everywhere. All right. Hey, we're going to take our first break. We're going to talk about, you've got the conference coming up, so let's talk about that when we come back.
That'd be great.
Be right back with you in just a minute.
Insurance should be simple, not complicated. That's why Insurance Agent Ray Cole cuts through the jargon and helps you understand options clearly. He's committed to finding coverage that fits unique needs and they're a trusted partner in the community since 1973. Ready to make insurance? Get with Ray Cole, Auburn Insurance Agency. He's ready to get the protection you deserve.
Lace up your kicks for a night of impact benefiting Shot. Join us for the annual Sneaker Ball presented by Venture Express. Spend Sunday, April 26th with NFL Hall of Famer and Super Bowl MVP Marcus Allen. The event kicks off at 6 with a VIP meet and greet at 5. Reserve your table today. Call Coach Andy Herzer at 615-631-5312. We'll see you at the Sneaker Ball benefiting First Shot on April 26th.
Grief support group every Wednesday morning at 10 at the St. Clair Street Senior in Murfreesboro. The St. Clair Center is at 325 St. Clair Street. in Myrtle at the St. Senior Center. You've heard WGNS talking about greenhouse trees. Need volunteers. And there are volunteer rotation sessions in Greenhouse Ministry every Wednesday afternoon at 2. Also every Thursday morning at 10. And if those don't fit your schedule, try the last Saturday of each month at 9 in the morning. Greenhouse Ministries is at 300 South Academy Street. And while we're talking greenhouse, whose signature fund is Deep Roots Youth. So you attend the breakfast Thursday, April 16th at 7 or at noon. They're both at Fountains. Tickets are just $20 and available online at housemen.org. No WGNS Sabre events.
Rutherford weather.
Daytime highs approaching 82. Today, under partly cloudy skies. Lows dip down to about 64. Night, partly cloudy skies. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Right now, 67.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. They want to make sure you're in the loop. Head over to mte.com to get your contact info so you can get those time alerts on outages and more. mte.com.
Mr. Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and 1450 FM 105 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.